Hello everyone, today in this video we'll fight against the atmospheric of our world around us, as we always try to do on this channel. And this time I would like to talk about neglected period of history, one of my favorite, the Hellenistic period, which is neglected in the teaching programs all around the world, because people are being educated history like this, of course, in a very fragmentary way, but they enter the classical Greece, and suddenly after the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BC, when army of Macedonians led by Philip II, father of Alexander the Great, defeated Greek coalition, and suddenly there is a jump in teaching of history and we enter the Roman Republic. And about Hellenistic monarchies we hear only when they have their encounter with Rome. In most cases it's encounter with tragic end for these monarchies, so we think that they were weaklings, that nothing interesting, and they didn't have any achievements. But it's not necessarily full picture, because Greek culture that infiltrated later Roman mind was accepted by Romans from the Hellenistic states, not from the classical Greece of Pericles or Themistocles. This we need to keep in mind. And this period, Hellenistic period, whose name was created by the 19th century German classical historian Gustav Droysen, and describes this period very well, lasted since the death of Alexander the Great, 323 BC, till the 30th BC, when the last independent Hellenistic monarchies of Ptolemaic Egypt was incorporated into the Roman state, Roman Republic, which shortly after has been transformed into Principate, so Roman Empire de facto. So we see that this period lasted for almost 3 centuries without 7 years, and it was the area we are talking about spans from nowadays Pakistan to nowadays south of Italy, but of course the cultural interactions went much farther, because we have to also remember that Greek culture during this period was affecting also western parts of Europe and North Africa. Carthaginians were to a large extent also culturally Hellenized. So we see that Greek language, Koine, one of the dialect, was spread on incredible territory. So from more or less northern Italy until on the eastwards modern Pakistan. So we see that this interaction of Greeks and their culture, way of thinking, philosophical and logical apparatus had to give many results, and it gave. Hellenistic period was also a time of the development of science, literature. There were also supported by state many institutions which were taking care of knowledge, accumulation of knowledge. The best known and the longest living, of course with some breaks and problems, was the Library of Alexandria, but there were some also competitive libraries, like Library of Pergamon. So we see that there was also some competition between the Seleucid monarchies for prestige, because collecting let's say collecting scholars and their works was also a sort of manifestation of prestige and wealth. And these states, because they were ruling huge and diverse territories, many of them were really opulent, like Ptolemaic Egypt, Seleucid Empire, or even some states in Asia Minor that were emerge a little bit later in later periods of Hellenistic times, like Kingdom of Pergamon. Mm, so this is very colorful and beautiful epoch of history worth studying, and people who also are interested in intercultural interactions and how they evolve, what they bring, should also dive into this period. There are many good books about this period, especially in English language, but not only, also in German and in French. Luckily, some of the French works, like the work of Mr. Chamonix, were translated into English, so it's easy to be found. But another work I can recommend you to read is From Alexander to Actium by recently deceased at the age of 100 Peter Green, also great biographer of Alexander the Great. So his biography of Alexander the Great, together with his book From Alexander to Actium, should be read one after another. And there are also there is also a book of Graham Shipley, the World After Alexander, also very good one, and many others. For instance, in Poland we had many good specialists working on this period. In Russia, yeah, some of the listeners to my channel can be surprised that sometimes I prize something which was done in Russia, even in Soviet Union. Yes, for instance, despite the fact there are some traces of Marxist ideology, old work by Mr. Abraham Ranovich is worth reading about Hellenistic period. Its title is Hellenism. I don't know if it was translated into English, but maybe. So this period of great cultural interaction, expansion and competition between power and wealth and knowledge is worth studying and should be studied, and we should learn from it how to deal with the problems of the changing world. All the best. Have a nice day. Bye.